Hey, what's up YouTube? Walt How To's and Reviews. Today I'm making this video for two main reasons. One is to save you money. Two is to do a brief education to try to help you save money. So the whole reason I'm making this video is if you need an external hard drive and you buy the parts separate, put it together, build your own, which I know sounds scary, you're probably going to be able to save a lot of money and in some cases even get better performance. So I just wanted to explain that, like if you're looking for an SSD, that's an option that's going to save you money and get great performance. Now the reason I feel like that doesn't happen is because this stuff is really hard to understand. That's where that education piece comes in, and it's actually a lot simpler than you think. If I was a marketer who made external hard drives, I would love how complicated this is because it's an easy way for you to make more money by selling a product that a lot of people don't need. So first thing I'm going to do is let's separate in our head two different things when it comes to an external hard drive. One is how you connect it, and two is the speed at which it works. So let's talk about how you connect it at first. And really it's pretty simple. There's going to be two main ways. It's going to be a USB and there's going to be USB-A. It's very common, probably all seen it. USB-C. Newer, might not have seen it. A lot of the new devices are coming out with it. Those are your two main ways that your computer is going to connect with your external hard drive. Now there is some other ports, like you might be wondering, well, A, C, what happened to B? That's usually, you have a USB-A that goes into your computer and then the other end is a B that connects like a printer or a scanner or something. But really we're talking about your computer. It's going to have the A on it. It's not going to have a B. It's extremely rare. And you might be thinking like, well, some devices have, this little guy like a phone. It's a mini USB, but on the other end is the USB-A that you plug into the charger. But we're talking about computers here, so really we're going to break it up into these two things, USB-A, USB-C. And the big thing I want you to remember in your head is don't think about speed when you think about that. A lot of the marketing is like, well, this one's USB-C, so it must be fast. It doesn't mean anything about speed. Completely separate that in your head. And that's the first thing you need to realize is like, okay, how am I going to connect my device to my computer? And if your computer has this kind of port on it, then that's the way you're going to connect it. If it has this kind of port on it, that's the way you're going to connect it. Now, if it has both ports on it, these can operate at the exact same speed. It's just how it connects. I will say though, this USB 3 has some options for higher speeds, but your computer might not even be capable of that. It might have both of these on there just to be able to connect to a lot of things, but they're both the same speed. It doesn't mean this one is faster, but there are some computers where this one will be faster. Alright, so now that you know how you're going to connect your device, the next thing you're going to think about is what speed do I need? Now, there's going to be the category of people who they're not really sure what speed they need. Their issue is their computer is saying, I'm out of space, you need more space, and you just need to move files off of your computer, put it on this because you don't want to lose the files. Maybe it's like some family photos or something. Put it on this and you don't really care about speed. In that case, you're in the best category because you can get lots of storage for super cheap. Doesn't matter how long it takes. And I'll put some links in the description. You're going to be connecting it most likely with this guy, USB-A, and don't worry about speed. You'll see there's things called SSDs. That stands for solid state hard drive. You don't even need one of those. And the other ones are way cheaper. So there's no need for you to pay that extra money for speed because you just don't need it. Now, the other category of people, there's going to be a reason why you need speed. Now, the simplest reason is just a convenience factor. If it's worth it to you to pay more so that you don't, when you say transfer my files, you don't have to wait a long time, you want it to be quicker, and it's worth it to pay X amount of dollars, maybe $100 to cut the time in half. If that convenience factor is enough value for you, there you go. Now, the only other reason you need speed other than convenience is an application, something you're doing that needs a certain amount of performance, a certain amount of speed to actually be able to do what you're trying to do. So for my circumstance, it's video editing. So I want to be able to edit video instead of using the hard drive on my computer, an external hard drive. So I need a certain amount of speed to be able to do that. So those are the two things. Now the only reason why you might want to pay for more speed than you need is to future-proof it. Maybe you're a video editor, you're editing high definition 1080, but one day you are going to get to the 4K, so you might want to buy something that's future-proof. What's great is if you buy something that's better, it's usually backwards compatible. So if you get the fastest one, it's also going to work with the slowest ones. But I just wanted to create that in your head. There's two different things, how it connects, speed. Now when you're talking about speed, it gets really, really confusing because you'll see 40 gigabytes, 40 gigabits. And for most people who aren't that versed in computer language, that sounds like the exact same thing. And there's actually a difference of about 10 between, bits and byte, what I just said there. So it gets kind of confusing, but to simplify this, just think about it as there's different categories of speed. Now, some of them might be different. This one might be like 560 letter per second versus this one's 540 letter per second. But the different categories or tiers, there's a range that they're in, and that whole range for whatever application you're going to be doing, it's going to accomplish it. And then within that range, you're paying a little bit more maybe for convenience, but these ranges are going to accomplish different things. And that's all you really need to worry about. And really, there's 4 ranges I'm going to talk about. I made this chart to help you shop for an external hard drive. Now, there's a lot of information here, and I'm trying to take something that is rather complicated and make it super simple for you. So you don't need to understand all the stuff on here. All you need to know is that, hey, there's 4 categories, 1, 2, 3, 4, and as you move up in the category, the price gets more expensive. The difference is speed. Don't worry about this stuff. It doesn't really matter. It's about the speed. That's what you're paying up for, and that's the difference between them. You can see it's at least doubling, if not more, every time you move up a category. So we're going from 150. I think some new ones might even do 200 now, but going from 150 to 500, more than doubled. 500 to 1,000. 1,000 to 1,500 is what I put just so in case you see something in that speed, because they're trying to actually show you what a certain application speed is, like actual writing. But a lot of them are going to say 2,800, 2,400. You're getting double the speed basically when you move up into this category. And you'll notice on this one I'm putting plus because you'll see ones that say higher than this. And if it says higher than this and they're actually talking about the device and not just the cable that comes with it, it's in this category. Don't get confused about all this writing here. There's 2 kinds of ports, USB-A, USB-C. These categories work with both. These categories only work with one, USB-C. Now, if you go to this high-end category here, Thunderbolt 3, that's just a special kind of USB-C port that can handle faster speeds. But that special one that's great will even work all the way back here with your lowest end, and it'll also work with all the category 3 that just run on USB-C. You have to have a Thunderbolt 3 though to do this category. You have to have USB-C to hit category 3 and 4. That's how this chart works. Before you even start shopping though, you need to make sure that you know the speed of your computer's USB ports. If you don't know that, look that up first. Google your computer model, go into the settings, just figure out, okay, I have a USB-C, what kind of speed does this support? I have a USB-A, what kind of speed does this support? And once you know that, you can eliminate some of these categories immediately if they don't support that speed, which will make shopping a lot easier. The second thing is maybe you do have a Thunderbolt 3 port and you already know that, but you don't need super high speeds because you're not using it for video editing, you're using it for something else. Figure out what speed do you need for that category, and then furthermore, and you can figure this out as you're shopping, but would you be willing to pay more for a little bit quicker of a speed if that's something important to you? And then you can start to figure out, well, how much more are you willing to pay if you're trying to future proof, because maybe in the future you're going to want it for something else, or just for that convenience factor. Alright, now that you know what your computer is capable of and you know how much speed you actually want, the last thing you need to know before you start shopping is how much storage are you looking for and do you want? And storage is going to be measured in gigabytes and terabytes. So gigabyte is going to be displayed as GB and terabyte is going to be displayed as TB. And roughly there's about 1,000 gigabytes per terabyte. It's actually 1,024, but just think of it as 500 gigabytes is a half a terabyte. So as soon as you get over 1,000 gigabytes, they're going to start counting it as TB. So if you have 4,000 gigabytes, they're just going to say 4 TB for terabyte. And now you're ready to start shopping for your external hard drives. So if I type in external hard drive, it's going to pull up a bunch of different stuff. Now, if you see HDD, or better yet, if you do not see SSD, that means that you're in category 1, which is the slowest category. So This one says HDD, which is nice because a lot of them don't. You know, this is the slowest category. Now you can see you're getting 5 TB, which stands for terabyte, for only $121. That's a phenomenal deal, where this one is only 1 terabyte and it costs more. It's because it's an SSD, and categories 2, 3, and 4 will all be labeled as SSD. You might see that NVMe right here, but that's the same thing as an SSD. It's just a different kind of technology, and what this means is these are all solid state drives. They don't have any moving parts, where this guy does have a moving part. It's a disk that spins and it reads and writes, kind of like a CD player or burning a CD. It takes a lot more time to do that. That's why it's slower. Okay, so you can see this one, it says 550 capital MB dash S. So if we use this chart, the capital MB dash S 550, it's in this category right here. So this is category 2. So if you want to compare apples to apples, you're going to be looking at other hard drives that say 1 TB at this category of speed, and that's how you can get an apples to apples comparison and know what's a good value here. This one's 2 terabytes, $60. You're getting back to that first category that's a lot more cost effective. This one isn't listed, but I can tell by the price. It's the first category, first category, first category, first category. This one, we're up into the third category. It's a terabyte. You're getting 1050, which is going to be the third category right here. And this stuff is always changing, so it'll probably be different when you look, but it's amazing that this one's 163, that first one was 160. SanDisk, you've probably heard of them. They're extremely reliable, and they have a really strong brand recognition and name. You can see this is 160, and this one's only $3 more for kind of an off-brand, not as well known. So I'd definitely look into it, but it is a pretty good deal in value. You can see they have more 1-star reviews at only 569. So I do know this one, if you could jump up categories, is about $30 more. So do you want to pay that $30 more? That's totally up to you. 12 gigabytes for $200, that's incredible. So a trick is, if you want to eliminate that first category, you can, instead of putting hard drive, just put SSD. And that's going to say we're only looking at solid state drives. So it's going to take out the categories of those cheap ones. So you can see this one is 2 terabytes, still in that second category, and it went up to 300. The other one was 160, went up to 300. So that's actually a pretty good deal, considering that it's scaling 160 to 300. Sometimes it will be more than double. This is actually less than double, so you'll start to notice patterns and see things. And this looks like a great deal at the category. It's in the third category, but once you look at the reviews, there's something people didn't like about this one. And this guy right here has got much better reviews, and this is in that lower category, and it's actually more expensive. Amazon is always going to have different pricing. You just want to start doing some research, but now you can start to figure out, how am I going to compare apples to apples? 540, we're in that second category. We're getting basically 1/2 TB or 512 gigabytes. You can see what the cost is. So hopefully that helps you shop. Now, the one thing we haven't seen is the high-end category. So another trick you can do to try to look for those is put in Thunderbolt 3. Because remember, for that category, only Thunderbolt 3 devices are going to be able to hit those kinds of speeds. So now if we search that, we should see some. These are just sponsored, so here we go. This one is 2800 MB per second, which is, a lot higher. Now we're up in this high-end category, 2800, and you can see it costs a lot more. You're paying $200 and you're only getting 1/2 terabyte, where for this guy it's 160 and you're getting a full terabyte. You drop down to that second category, you get $160, $40 less, and you get twice the amount of storage. So do you really need all that speed? Only you can answer that question. Now sometimes you'll see, hey, this says Thunderbolt 3 portable SSD. It means it might work with Thunderbolt 3, but it doesn't mean that you're actually getting those speeds. So you might actually want to open this up and try to actually find what is the actual speeds. This is saying 1700 megabits per second, and that's actually not bad. It's a lot cheaper than the other one. And then you'll start to look at, oh, but the reviews aren't that good. You know, one thing just from knowing about this stuff is this cable connects, so if this cable ever breaks, you're kind of out of luck, and I just don't like that. I like one where I can plug in a cable to both ends, and you know, I could do some more research, and I bet I'm gonna find other things that I don't really like about this one. But then again, you're getting a pretty good deal, so maybe those things don't bother you. And you can see this stuff starts to get really expensive. 2 terabytes, you're looking at like $700 for a super nice one. This one, terabyte, $300. You can start to see what's going on here in terms of price. Now, sometimes you'll see that this is a different kind of measurement. So it's saying 10 GBS. If we go to our chart here, we're looking for 10. It's in between these two, right? So something is a little different here with this guy. And if I look into it, when we look in here, you know, they give us a different measurement speed of 1000 megabytes per second, which is showing, yeah, we're actually in this third category. This isn't the fourth category. It is not using Thunderbolt. So they're using a little bit of marketing here. They're saying the actual chip that's in here, that's how fast of a speed it can support, but this is as fast as speeds you're gonna get. So it's some marketing going on there, because you can just use a simple Google search. If there's 1000 megabytes, that's only 8 gigabits. That's what's going on here when you see that it's not lining up. That's why, you know, we're still in this third category. This fourth category is only Thunderbolt 3. Again, I don't want to get too technical with it, but just look at these speeds, do a little bit of research. If you need this category and in this category, I imagine you probably know a lot about this stuff, and I don't want to bore you in my video with that. There's plenty of stuff out there, but I just wanted to give a quick explanation of, you know, why you might see something that's a little wonky, and that's probably why it's a good price. But as soon as you get an actual Thunderbolt 3 terabyte, you know, you're in the $300 range. Okay, you'll see 2400 megabits, $500. You know, when you start getting the Thunderbolt 3 and you start seeing these high numbers, it's going to get really expensive. Now for my favorite part of the video, I want to explain to you for each category how to get the best value in terms of amount of storage, the speed, and the price. Now, I know it seems complicated. You're going to build a hard drive, you're going to put it together, but it's just 2 parts. It's the actual drive, and then it's a case. You put the drive into the case, and you're done. It's really easy. My grandma can do it. I'm going to show you how to do it. Don't get discouraged by that, but for doing that little bit of work, that's why you get a better value. For the first category, it actually isn't going to make sense to buy the 2 pieces and put it together. It's actually going to be the same price, if not cheaper, just to buy it already put together, like this guy right here. But it will make sense to take a hard drive that you don't even realize you have and put it in a case. And what I mean by that is, if you know of an old computer sitting in the closet collecting dust because you've upgraded, or a friend or family just has one that they never plan on using again, there is a hard drive in there. You can take the hard drive out of that computer, put it in one of these cases, and now you have an external hard drive. You can see they're as cheap as $8. Now, you might want to open up the computer and see what kind of hard drive is in there. There's 2 different sizes, 2.5 or 3.5. If you're taking it from a laptop, most likely 2.5, a desktop, 3.5. So you just want to make sure you get a case that's going to work, or get one like this that just works with both. But for $8, you're not going to be able to get a better value. So with that being said, it really depends on the hard drive that's in your old computer. If it's got more than 500 gigabytes, yeah, for $8, that's a really good deal. But a lot of times, depending on the age and what you're actually going to use it for, just buying a memory card is going to be the best value for that first category. You don't have to put anything together. It's super cheap, and speed is not an issue. This one says it holds a whole terabyte for $40. You know, you cut that price more than half, $16, 128 gigabytes. That's going to be really, really hard to beat in terms of value. Plus, it's brand new. It is a little bit more secure since it's a solid state storage, no moving parts to break. I would just recommend going with this. If you're the older person, got some family photos, your 128 gigabyte old computer is running out of space, you can double your space for $16. It's going to work with the USB drive on your computer. this is most likely the way to go for best value in category 1. To get the best value in category 2, you're going to search for two things. If you're looking on Amazon, you're just going to type in SSD. It's going to look like this. They're 2.5 inches, and they're going to say SATA in all caps, which means that they can support, this higher speed, that category 2 speed, and they come in all different sizes in terms of the gigabytes and prices. Now the best value I think I found was this Silicon Power 128 gigabyte SSD for $18. And then the second thing you're going to search for is an external hard drive enclosure, and you just want to make sure if you're using USB-A that it has the blue. If it has the blue, that means it can support those category 2 speeds, and I'm not even sure if they sell them anymore that don't. So pretty much all of them do. Just if it is black, just buy one that's blue so you know you're good. Blue meaning the wire that connects this USB-A part has a little blue piece in there. That's all you need to be looking for. I think I did find one even cheaper. Yeah, $7 right here. So $7 plus the $18 hard drive. So for $25, you can be in the category 2 speed. It's not very much space, but $25 and now you've got this kind of speed. It's pretty incredible. And don't think because there's two other categories this isn't fast. This is extremely fast. 99% of the stuff people are trying to do out there, category 2 can do. This is extremely fast. So don't be fooled that there's a couple extra categories that you need more speed. I mean, this can do video editing. This can do a lot of stuff. Most people are going to fall in this category. We're talking $25 and you've got a great setup. You want to double that, $55 gets you a half a terabyte at these incredible speeds right here. Not too bad, and always be looking for sales. A lot of times, like I said, it's an extremely competitive market. They might have made a lot of these. Now that there's new technology out, people aren't buying them as much. There's going to be a sale where you can get this stuff at a really good price. The biggest difference from moving from category 2 to 3 or even 4 is the actual hardware and component that the memory is stored on. In category 2, it goes on one of these traditional SSDs. For category 3 and 4, it's now called an NVMe. It's still an SSD, but that's the type of chip, and you'll notice it's this elongated type chip. This allows for faster speeds. But before we talk about the chip, let's look over the actual case that it's going to be in. So if you just type in NVMe enclosure, you're going to see these cases. They're anywhere from $20 to $50. I would recommend staying in that $20 to $30 range if you're looking for value. In my personal opinion, I think this case right here, which I'll put in the description, is the best value. Reason being is these chips get a little bit hotter because they're moving so much data, and cooling can help improve their performance if they don't allow them to get hot. This case comes with a cooling little sticker. It's a pad that you put on the actual chip that helps dissipate the heat, as well as the case itself is designed in a way that helps dissipate heat. However, I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you find one that's more aesthetically pleasing to you, I would go ahead and go for it. I actually bought this case right here, and the only reason was it was going to come a day earlier, and I'm impatient, and I like the color blue. It also comes with that same kind of pad that you put on the chip, and it's aluminum, so it should do well with the heat. But this is a little bit more cost effective, as well as I just feel that you're getting a better value because the case is designed to dissipate heat better than some of the other ones that are shown when I search for the actual case. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about the case first is this is what's going to actually hinder our speeds. You'll see it's going to say 3.1 generation 2, 10 gigabits per second. That's the connection type, and that's a theoretical speed. We're actually going to get speeds closer to what my chart says, between that 8 and 9 range of gigabits per second. So that's why it doesn't say 10 here. I was trying to be more realistic of what you'll actually get. And even if you could get those speeds, you'll see it's still beneath category 4. So we're talking about category 3 here. And it's important to realize that when you start shopping for the NVMe chip, you'll see the chips can handle much higher speeds than this. But since we're only going to be able to get these slower speeds due to the way it's interfacing with your computer via the enclosure and cable, in my opinion, you don't really need to pay up for a faster chip since you're never going to be able to take advantage of those speeds. Now, when we get to category 4, we're going to talk about an enclosure that's much more expensive than these and does have the ability to take advantage of those faster chips. But for category 3, that's going to affect the way that we shop because we don't need to pay up for faster chips. The slower speed chips are going to offer higher storage space at a lower cost, giving us better value since we can't take advantage of those speeds anyway. When you're shopping for the actual chip, you're going to search for NVMe, and you're going to see these are what the memory cards look like, and the prices are going to be all over the place. This one's a whole terabyte for 120, and then you'll see this one's 180, but it's a terabyte, and it's like, well, why is it so much more expensive? Sometimes it's the brand and whatnot, but a big reason is the read and write speeds. So this one's saying it can read and write at 3200 to 2000. And if we open this guy up, 3500 to 2500. So it's just faster. Because of this, I actually bought this one right here. Now, the reviews weren't the best. Maybe I could have looked into it, but it's $190 and I got 2 terabytes. The speeds were slow relative to these chips. You know, we're talking 2000 to 1800 megabytes per second, but I'm only going to be able to get up to 10 based on the interface that it's using, how it's connected. So I don't care that this is a lower speed and that, you know, I'm getting 2 terabytes for $190. So that's just a super good deal. 38 bucks plus you can get an enclosure for $23, $61, and now you've got category 3 speed. And the one I actually got, I bought this August 23rd and it was $100 and it was $200. Now it's $10 less. So I got 28 plus 190 is what you could buy it for now. For $218, you can have a category 3 speed and 2 terabytes. That's where I'm talking about the value. So that's the category 3 and how you would shop for that. If you want the latest and greatest, fastest speeds available at the time of making this video, and this stuff is pretty new, so I think this will hold for a while, at least a few years, if not more. Category 4, this is where you want to be if that's what you're looking for. Now, it's very similar to category 3, and I'm going to first go over what the actual big difference is. Now, if you're searching on Amazon, what you want to search for is a Thunderbolt 3 NVMe enclosure, as opposed to the category 3, we're just searching for the NVMe enclosure. And what you're going to notice is, at least at the time of this video, and always check the links, because if it's 6 months from now, the technology might have come down. They just recently got a lot more cost effective. But right now, at least, about $100 to $150 is what they cost. You know, this is the lower end, 100, maybe not the best reviews. The higher end, close to the 150, tends to do a lot better. Here's a really good middle of the ground one for 130, and then you'll see if it's only $25, that means that it's not Thunderbolt 3. It might say that it's Thunderbolt 3 compatible, meaning it'll work because a Thunderbolt 3 is just a USB-C connection, but it's not going to support those high speeds. What's really telling and will show you is the cable alone costs about the same price as an entire enclosure with the cable for the category 3, the NVMe enclosure, and hopefully these come down in price. But yeah, to get one at that like $20 range, the way you can tell is if it has the little Thunderbolt of lightning in the 3, that's how you know. And you can see this one's $20, 1.6 foot. It's not even 2 feet long. It's extremely short. So if you get one that's, 2.6 foot, now it's 40 bucks. So these are pretty darn expensive, but these cables allow way more, 100 watts and 40 gigabits per second. That's why this one's cheaper, is because it's not going to 40 gigabits per second, and that doesn't mean that's the speed you're going to get. It just means that it's capable. That's why the Thunderbolt 3 NVMe cases are at such a higher price point. So if you just use the same chip that I used in category 3 and put it in one of these cases, it's going to be a lot faster. But let's talk about that. If you're going to be paying up for a higher end NVMe Thunderbolt 3 case, I would not recommend buying the same chip I did for category 3. The reason I bought this is you're getting 2 terabytes under $200. That's just a great deal, but we're giving up a lot of speed that category 3 can't hit. However, category 4 can hit it. And as I showed earlier, 2000 to 1800 read and write speeds, but you pay up for a nicer chip, 3,400 to 3,000 read and write speeds. And the category 4 can take advantage of this if you have the better cable and enclosure. And you can see, this one's in the middle, $119, $3,200, $2,000 versus that one I showed you right here. When I searched, this was the best value in terms of the amount of speed it can handle and for the cost. And we'll get to, there's actually even a better chip in a second, but for speed it can handle and the cost for a Generation 3 NVMe chip. Now, you put this chip in a Thunderbolt 3 enclosure, it's going to be lightning extremely fast. So let me talk about this range. There's quite a big range. We're talking 1,500 to 3,000 plus. That lower end range is when you use a cost-effective chip like that $190 chip I showed you. You put that in a Thunderbolt 3, you're going to be on that lower end range. It's still going to be a lot faster than this category 3 just by getting the better enclosure, but you're going to be on that lower end range. Now, there's a new thing that just came out. If you notice these chips, a lot of them you'll actually see it says Gen 3, Gen 3. Now, they just came out with a Gen 4, which has better technology that theoretically can be faster. I'm not going to get into the specifics, but if you go with a Gen 4 chip, this is going to be middle of the road. This guy right here, this $120 one, a little bit slower, but that's going to be more in the middle of the road of this range. If you want the absolute top end range, and as far as I know right now, so here is, in my opinion, the best Gen 4 chip for the value, the money. You can see it says Generation 4 here. That's the big difference. See, you're jumping up huge in price, $200 for 1 terabyte, where we were looking at $190 for 2 terabytes of the Gen 3. That's slower. But you jump up to this right here, as far as I know, at least when I made this video, none of the external hard drives that you can actually buy that are Thunderbolt 3 that you don't put together will perform as well as when you pair this with a Thunderbolt 3 enclosure. You're going to get a better deal in terms of the money and better performance, which is astonishing. So pairing the Gen 4 chips with a Thunderbolt 3 enclosure is going to get you to the high end of this category 4. But again, I got to reiterate, anything in category 4 for 99% of people's uses is going to be fine, and that higher up is a convenience and, in my opinion, cool factor. Like, I kind of want it just because it's cool, just to know, like, hey, I'm taking advantage of the best technology available today, and yeah, it's going to save me 2 seconds of moving files around, maybe even a whole minute, and I don't know if that's worth hundreds of dollars, but it's just so cool that it's even possible. So if we're trying to find the best value, or like what's the most cost-effective way, at least today, to get into category 4, you're going to be looking at a chip like this guy right here for $38. And if you pair that with the most cost-effective Thunderbolt 3 enclosure right now, which is $100, you're looking at $138 to be able to get into that category 4. And just as the speeds almost double, if not more, each time, you can see how the price correlates. And it's going to be exciting in the future when there's a category 5 and this stuff just gets more cost effective. I mean, right now, this is so fast. 10 years ago, this was category 4 and super expensive, and now it's just amazingly priced. So when they come out with a category 5, I'll be excited to make another video. But that's just what's going on today. $138, you can get the highest speeds possible. You're only getting 256 gigabytes, but when you build your own, you ever want to upgrade, just buy a new chip. This chip is still good. If you just store it somewhere safe, it'll keep all the files on there and you can swap them out. So a lot of value in building it yourself. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to show you how extremely easy it is to build your own hard drive, which really, you're just going to put a chip in an enclosure. That's all it is. It's not rocket science. It's not hard. If you're doing some category 2 technology, a lot of times you don't even need screws. It's like super, super easy. I'll also show you how fast my hard drive reads and writes and transfers files. Alright, so as I mentioned, it's only 2 parts. It's the enclosure and it's the chip which actually holds the memory. So I open both up. Right now I'm taking out the actual chip, and you can see the instructions that are there. It's 1 page, 6 steps. So the very first step is to remove the back part of the enclosure with these tiny little screws. Then I need to push the motherboard, the part that actually holds the chip, out. So you use the cable that you plug it into to pull that out. Now that that's out, I'm going to take the actual chip. It only goes in one way. It's pretty easy. You push it in, And then in this bag, there's a little screw that you use that basically just holds down the chip so it doesn't joggle around or move. You can see it's kind of up. You press it down and then you put in that screw. Really easy. This is optional, but you can put a paste that I just put, it's like a sticker, over the chip. That just helps with cooling. The cooler the chip, the faster it goes. Then you put the screws back in and that's it. You're completely done. Told you it was easy. That's what it looks like for categories 3 and 4. For categories 1 and 2, this is what it looks like. Case is no screws. You just slide it open, 2 pieces of plastic. Now this first hard drive is what it looks like if you pull it out of a laptop. That's what it's going to look like if you just buy it online or from a store. They have the exact same connection type. There's only one way it can go into the case so that it connects, and you just push it in and then slide the top of the case on and you have an external hard drive. I'll show you with the other one. It's just as easy. You are going to slide it in, only goes in one way, so if it doesn't go in, flip it around, put the top on, and once the top's on, you plug it in, and now you have a USB that you plug into your computer and it's ready to use. I used the Blackmagic speed test to figure out how fast my disk would read and write, at least according to this test. It's pretty easy. You just select the drive as you saw, and then you have the option between 1 and 5 gigabyte stress test. I did the 5, and then it just runs the test over and over again. You can see on average I get about 870 megabytes per second write and 900 megabytes per second reading. I also did a real world test where I took this file that was 5.78 gigabytes, drop it in there, and I think it was about 4 or 5 seconds it took, which is pretty lightning fast. I'm really happy with it. If you watched this video, I hope it gave you the information you were seeking. Appreciate you watching it, and I'll see you next time.